Got a bit of Warzone 2 gameplay for you today as we talk about Season 2 for Warzone 2.0. Now, there's no denying that Warzone 2 has gotten off to a bit of a shaky start. The game has a lot of redeeming features and a lot of quality in it that makes it a lot of fun, but is also riddled with quality of life issues and frustrating elements of the game that take you out of the experience and don't give you the consistency you would want from a battle royale. But Season 2 is looking like the crazy ambitious update that we needed for Warzone 2, because not only are we getting brand new content like a new map for Resurgence and DMZ missions, but we're also getting a whole new quality of life phase in Warzone 2 as early as February, which I think is really impressive. So we're going to dive through all of the critical changes that are coming here in Warzone 2 Season 2 that are going to make a difference to the game and talk about them a little bit in depth. And of course, if you enjoy this type of video, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 200k. Season 2 is opening on a really good note for audio with two key fixes that are going to improve the game. There was an issue related to PC audio where a stereo output wasn't being forced to some headphones, which is now an option in the game menu, which should hopefully smooth things over for some players. But the big issue affecting all platforms, and something I've been talking about for a long time in my live streams, is what's known as audio occlusion. Now, in Warzone 2, when you step on different materials, be that wood, dirt, some kind of fabric or metal, you get various different sounds that react as a result of those footsteps. Now, the problem in Warzone 2 is that there are multiple different textures and assets in the game that don't give you audio when they should. So they found some examples of this, like stepping on a stapler or a pile of rags in the game, were causing the audio to end up being more muted than it should have been. And even worse, some things had the wrong audio value applied to them, so they gave the example that a wastebasket was given the wrong material, and as a result of that, it would sound like it was coming from the wall behind you as opposed to in front of you. So if you've ever had instances where you're running around in the game and suddenly it feels like your footsteps have gone silent or things aren't making sound, this should solve it in Season 2. Season 2 is also going to come with a substantial weapon balancing pass. I think it's safe to say we can expect the RPK, the Vector, and the dual-wield automatic pistols to be nerfed into oblivion. But what's more important is how they're going to balance some of the other weapons. The AK-47 or Kastov 762 is effectively a direct replacement for the RPK, and some of the other light machine guns like the Sakin MG38 and even the RAP-H have a lot of potential to be very troublesome. But I think a really big balance pass is needed here to reduce the overall time to kill impact that we're seeing in Warzone 2 right now. Even if we're not changing the health values, weapons like the Vector should not be killing as fast as they are, and they aren't making for a competitive experience in Battle Royale. The next littering of changes are all massive quality of life boosts to this game, and the first is the Gulag. They've finally gotten rid of that silly 2v2 Gulag, and we're going back to a proper 1v1 experience where you aren't reliant on somebody who's gone AFK, has decided to turn into a potato, or just straight up quits when they've reached the Gulag. They've also updated the loot pool for this, so you'll have assault rifles, SMGs, LMGs, and other primary weapons the later into the game you Gulag into. And you'll also leave the Gulag with more cash. To make this change even better, satchels are disappearing from Warzone 2, so you will no longer have to scurry around looking for a 3-plate vest. It will just be the default, which thank goodness that has decided to be done. I really think satchels are just a thing that slows down gameplay, makes it more troublesome, and makes regaining harder than it should be. Nobody wants to lose a gunfight because they had one plate less than they should have, but everybody is fine with losing a gunfight when people have an even stacking of health and armor. Speaking of looting and inventory, as well as stuff like satchels, there is a full change coming to the system that we're seeing in Warzone 2. As I mentioned, satchels are completely disappearing, but they're also going back to splurge loot for dead enemy opponents, as well as some other loot around the map. So rather than you having to fumble around a backpack and try and get stuff out of it, you'll simply be able to auto pick up most of it off of the floor. And the other big and massive change is that the backpack system is basically disappearing. There will no longer be medium and large backpacks in the game, and you will simply get a standard backpack with 5 slots throughout the entire match. This means you'll actually have to make a choice between whether you want ammo and plates, or if you want extra self-revives or extra kill streaks. And this should massively reduce the amount of self-res spam and the amount of kill streak spam that you encounter in Warzone 2, which I think is a really positive change and will make the gameplay experience much better for everyone. If you take extra self-revives, you'll have less plates, and if you take extra kill streaks, you'll have less plates and ammo. And this is a really good trade-off decision system because it means that kill streaks are going to become a little bit more valuable and people won't just be burning them throughout the entire game. I had an instance yesterday where I was airstriked and cluster-striked a grand total of 5 times in a single gunfight with one squad. I should mention as well that cash piles are massively improving. So the minimum cash pile at the moment is $100 and that's going up to $500 and also going up to $800 for random cash piles on the ground. You'll have substantially more money in the game and certain things are being reduced in price as well. So you'll see much more regain opportunity, much more cash piles and more incentive to loot for money. You'll also be able to use this cash in buy station locations throughout the map. They've actually completely revamped how they're doing this and will now be offering a huge number of static buy stations across the map, as opposed to having to find a random variation, and this should solve some of the issues where in late circles there were no buy stations for you to res teammates at all. Loadouts are a huge part of Warzone, and in Warzone 2.0 they're now starting to appear sooner than before. There will be 2 public loadout drop events now, one happening at the end of Circle 1 and one happening in the later circles, and the overall difficulty of acquiring a loadout has been reduced. The price point has come down a little bit, and you'll even find on a rare occasion loadout drop markers inside crates. So whether you buy a loadout for a reduced price, or you get the public drop in Zone 1 or Zone 5, you'll end up with a much higher likelihood of going to get your weapons and perks. You'll also be able to customize your perk packages now, which is really cool to see, but they're reducing the number of perks in the game. So expect to see things like Bird's Eye disappear, and dare I say it, possibly even Ghost might end up not being in the new system, whilst they balance and figure out how to manage pings on the map and UAVs and stuff like that. And the final quality of life change mentioned in this patch note is the actual change of movement speed whilst plating, which has now been increased, and you'll also be able to bust through doors whilst plating as if you were sprinting. Now, it isn't a full sprint to plate setup so far from the way this has been worded, but it's definitely substantially faster. There's also some universal fixes to crashes and instability with Warzone 2, and for those of you who are interested in DMZ, not only are they introducing brand new missions, they're also wiping the mission progress in Season 2. So if you're on Tier 5, you're going to be back on Tier 1, and it's going to be a fresh grind for you to get back up to Tier 5 for DMZ modes. There should be more information when the official patch notes for Season 2 go live, which should be on the 15th when the update goes live, which of course we'll cover here on the channel, and we will be playing live with some other YouTubers, so make sure that you'll subscribe for that. But for the most part, this is looking really encouraging. Not only is there a massive improvement of quality of life, frustrating elements like the Gulag, not finding cash, satchels, the backpack system have all been resolved in a single update. And it looks like we're going to see even more changes and fixes in the finalized version of these notes. All of these changes alone are enough for me to be fairly excited about Warzone 2. Just having the ability to 1v1 a Gulag, just having the ability to not look for a vest, all of those things that basically make you annoyed and don't make you want to play are completely disappearing. And we haven't even talked about the fact that there is a brand new Resurgence map, which is also a DMZ map. So DMZ will now have Building 21, Al Mazrah, and this new Resurgence map, and Battle Royale will have a Resurgence map for people to enjoy. Season 2 is looking like a massive improvement in quality of life, and also potentially a huge improvement in terms of the content of the game. I'm interested to know your thoughts and feelings down below in the comment section. What do you think about Season 2? What changes are you most looking forward to? And I'll catch you again in the next video.